They told us the visitors crawled out from under the ground. But what if that was a lie? The Pale Man, the visitors, even FEMA, every single ending circles back to one thing, and if you don't see that, you'll miss why his happiest ending might actually be the darkest of them all. The game is called No, I'm Not Human. You play as a lonely man living in a quiet farmhouse while the world outside collapses. By day, the sun burns so hot that stepping outside means death. By night, strangers knock at your door. Some are real survivors, desperate to escape the heat. Others are something else entirely. Visitors, parasites, mimics that wear human skin. The entire game revolves around one impossible choice. Do you let someone in, or do you leave them outside? If you let the wrong person in, they'll kill you and everyone else inside. But if you turn away too many people, you're left alone. And when you're alone, another kind of monster always comes. The rules are vague. The TV tells you to look for signs: unnaturally white teeth, dirt under fingernails, bleeding gums, strange reflections in photos. But the problem is, those signs are normal human traits too. Who hasn't had red eyes from staying up too late? Who doesn't get dirt on their nails? These tests only fuel paranoia. And while you're trying to survive, the world outside isn't helping. FEMA, a government emergency force, shows up to take people away for testing. Radio stations report conspiracies, missing scientists, even psychics scamming the desperate for money. Delivery men risk their lives to bring you coffee and inertia at night, when the sun won't roast them alive. Through all of it, there's one constant threat: the Pale Man, a tall, unsettling figure who only comes for people who are alone. He taunts you, mocks you, and studies you from outside your window. And no matter how many FEMA soldiers he slaughters, he never breaks into a house that still has company inside. Why? That one of the mysteries we'll uncover today. The story doesn't drop you straight into chaos. It begins almost calmly, with a conversation between you and your neighbor. He talks about his family, his daughter starting school, a recent trip to the beach. The world still feels normal. But then his tone changes. He warns you about the visitors. He heard whispers of people being killed, of houses burned down. He stresses the most important rule: never be alone. Because there's something out there, a man, pale and tall, that kills the lonely. He begs you to be careful, and then heads home with his daughter. Not long after, your door gets its first knock. Your first visitor is the tall man, the homeless lady, two strangers who could be either desperate humans or visitors in disguise. You test them the only way you know how, asking to see their teeth, watching their hands for dirt under the nails. The TV anchors told you these were signs of infection, but how reliable is that really? One wrong decision and your house becomes a slaughterhouse. Letting them in feels dangerous. Turning them away feels cruel. This is where paranoia starts to grow. This time around, the game gives you a phone. You can call the neighbor, order supplies like coffee or Energia, or even talk to shady psychics who charge money for nonsense advice. Then it happens. You see him, the Pale Man, standing outside silent, watching your home. If you're not alone, he stays outside. But if he ever catches you without company, you know it coming. And as terrifying as he is, he seems bound by rules, almost like a curse. Why can he tear through soldiers in hazmat suits, but not step into your home unless invited? As days pass, FEMA begins to appear. Hazmat suits, military escorts, soil samples. They claim they're protecting people, but soon they come knocking at your door, not to help, but to take one of your guests. They promise it's just testing and that the person will return, but you know that a lie. Worse, the signs they push, red eyes, white teeth, bleeding gums, are so vague that anyone could fit them. It feels less like protection and more like control. Even your neighbor begins to suspect FEMA is hiding the real truth. Then comes the breaking point. One night, your neighbor doesn't make it. The very people he sheltered betray him. His house burns in the distance, and his daughter runs to your door crying, begging you to let her in. She all that left of the only friend you had. Not long after, the Pale Man pays you another visit. This time he speaks, mocking you through the door. He taunts your loneliness. He asks if your lock is strong enough. He toys with you like a predator playing with food. But then, he hears whispers inside and leaves, for now. As the days stretch on, the world outside collapses further. Teenagers slaughtered in the fields, FEMA agents executing people who run, cultists lighting bonfires in the night, preaching that death is redemption, vigilantes killing anyone with even one sign of infection, decorating themselves with necklaces of teeth and fingers. And all the while, the Pale Man keeps coming back, always watching, always waiting. Just when it feels like the walls are closing in, something unexpected happens. A man known only as the Prophet tells you to let a cat into your house. Strange advice, right? But if you do, the cat leads you to a rug, and underneath is a hatch. A hidden entrance to something deeper. Digging through, you discover a tunnel system. Not random tunnels, but ones that look like people have been here before. Survivors, maybe? Desperate enough to dig underground to escape the burning sun. The tunnels lead to a half-collapsed passage. On the other side, you hear the voice of another survivor. He explains they dug this way too, but found something else. A hole. The animals avoid it. Compasses spin wildly near it, and anyone who goes down never comes back. One man did. He vanished. Now it's your turn. Falling into the hole, the farmhouse world disappears. You wake in an endless shallow sea. Quiet. Still, suspended above the water is a glowing presence. It speaks to you gently, calm, almost comforting. It says, "I am death," but it doesn't feel like the monster outside your house. This entity doesn't hunt you or mock you. Instead, it transports you to a grassland, an isolated place where everything grows, where time feels meaningless. You're not hungry, you're not afraid, you just exist. The question is, did you die, or did something else pull your consciousness away? And could this entity be the same force behind the visitors? Did the people who went into the tunnels meet it and come back changed? This ending is considered to be the true ending. Now, the real replay value of No, I'm Not Human comes from its 10 different endings. They all spin out of the same paranoia-driven choices, but each reveals a new side of the world. First, the perfect survival. Survive all 14 days. Identify every visitor, protect every human, build a sanctuary. It's the hardest outcome, and maybe the least believable in this world of paranoia. Second, survival with imposters. You last the 14 days, but some of your guests weren't human. It suggests that kindness, even if it misplaced, might matter more than accuracy. Third, the super visitor ending. Refuse to let anyone in. Stay paranoid. By day 4, the Pale Man comes. Alone, you don't stand a chance. He snaps your neck instantly. The game harsh reminder, isolation equals death. Fourth, FEMA path. Play along with the government. Hand out FEMA tickets. Make the right calls. You'll be recruited into their agency. But is survival worth becoming part of the machine at experimenting on your neighbors? Fifth, the cult ending. Shelter cult members. Keep them safe for 3 nights. The leader arrives and you're invited into their ritual. Choose to join, and you disappear into their faith-driven apocalypse. Sixth, the vigilante rampage. If the armed vigilante suspects you, he'll turn on you. Trigger it by hinting that you show visitor signs. He'll kill you without hesitation. The irony, his obsession with killing imposters turns him into a monster. Seventh, the killer ending. Let paranoia consume you. Kill every guest. Human, visitor, doesn't matter. By day 9, you're branded a murderer and the game ends. You're worse than the visitors. Eighth, the fatal child ending. Accept a woman into your house. A few days later, her stomach bursts open, a parasitic child emerges. Find it 3 times hiding in your house, and the game ends with its haunting reveal. Ninth, the mushroom ending. A surreal conclusion. Eat a series of strange items, mushrooms, apples, interact with the clock. Eventually, the mushroom picker returns. Agree to follow him, and you unlock the game's strangest, most mind-bending finale. Across all these endings, one thing never changes the Pale Man. He stalks. He watches. He could destroy armed squads, but he won't cross your door unless you're alone. It almost vampiric he needs an invitation, or maybe he bound by some parasite logic. Is he the first visitor, a human infected long ago, or a person who dug into the tunnels and came back cursed? Whatever he is, his obsession with you and your loneliness is the heart of the story. So now that we've gone through the visitors, the Pale Man, FEMA, the cults, and even that strange mushroom dreamland, what does all of it actually mean? Let's talk theories. First, the parasite theory. This one lines up with the scientist who claims the visitors aren't aliens at all. They're humans infected by a parasite. That explains the fingernails, the red eyes, the bleeding gums, small everyday signs that could point to something microscopic hiding inside. If that's true, then the Pale Man isn't supernatural. He's just someone who lived with the infection longer than anyone else. Then there's the government conspiracy angle. FEMA doesn't act like a rescue agency. They abduct, they experiment, and they lie about returning people. Maybe the visitors were created in a lab. Maybe the parasite is an alien, man-made, and the whole Sunflare story could just be a cover-up. But not everything points to science. The supernatural theory is harder to ignore. The Pale Man can't just walk in, he needs you to be alone. That feels like folklore, like a vampire who needs an invitation, or a curse that feeds on loneliness. The whole underground and the glowing death entity only add to that. A cosmic horror territory, something bigger than science, something ancient. And finally, the psychological theory. What if none of this is real? The signs for visitors are vague on purpose. White teeth, dirt under nails, red eyes, they could describe anyone. Maybe the game is less about monsters at the door and more about paranoia eating away at us. When the world collapses, people don't need a real monster. Fear will make us turn on each other just the same. In the end, No, I'm Not Human doesn't give us a single answer. That's the point. It forces you to sit in that uncertainty and decide for yourself whether the real monster is underground or inside your own head. But what do you think? Is the Pale Man really just an infected human? Did FEMA create all of this? Or is the whole apocalypse just one long descent into paranoia? Let me know your theories down in the comments. Like, subscribe, click on the hype button, and this is Game Lore. See you in the next one.